how many of his pictures have shown up in my pictures, right? And I mean, I would never copy him. I'd never copy anybody. It just isn't something I would do. And certainly in advertising, boy, there's a lot of that. People used to make magic marker sketches, right? And say, this is what we want to look like. Now what you get half the time is somebody else's picture in the layout. And they say, well, we want it to look like this, right? And I'll say, well, that's certainly great, but, you know, of course we'll do something good. They say, no, the client saw this. We have to shoot this first. And I said, well, I don't look good in stripes. I've got kids. You know, it's like prison's not for me. I don't think we just can't do that. You know, it's kind of like illegal. You can't do it. And they said, no, you shoot whatever you want. This will be like a jumping off point. We'll just cover this first. And it ends up being a big discussion because I won't do it. You can't, you know. It's kind of, there are laws against that kind of stuff. So, so anyway, I was looking at his pictures, and they influence you. You know what I mean? Like, you get bombarded by images all the time on the internet and on television, especially those of us who are passionate about photography. We look at photographs all the time. And even when you're not consciously thinking of people whose work you want to emulate, certainly when I was starting out, I was desperate to take pictures like Arnold. Right? It's like you want to learn how to play guitar, you try to do licks like Eric Clapton. You know, that's how you learn. And then eventually, hopefully, you go and you develop your own style, but that's certainly a reasonable thing to do. But I started looking through his pictures, and I saw, wow, these things, they've been lurking in the back of my head, you know what I mean? And they just keep showing up, so I want to show you a few of those. And to me, it was there's just a couple of it at the start. Here they are. So this is a picture I did for Time. I'll start off showing you some Time covers of Rudy Giuliani. He was Time's Man of the Year, Person of the Year. It's politically correct now. Person of the Year, it used to be Man of the Year. Now it's like Biped of the Year, Human of the Year, Organism of the Year. He was the Organism of the Year that year, I guess. And shot him on top of, at Rockefeller Center, 30 Rock, right, like the TV show. And they have an observation deck. And this was right after 9/11. And everybody was really affected. I saw it happen right out the window of my studio. It's about half a mile north of Ground Zero. So we all thought about it all the time, and you could still smell it, and it was in the air. Anyway, I had the assignment to photograph him for the Person of the Year, because he was really the person who was visibly on the scene that day. It was like a shining moment. And he refused to be photographed at Ground Zero. Right? He felt like that was sacred ground. And he felt it would be too self-aggrandizing to be photographed at Ground Zero. I guess he didn't feel like it would be too self-aggrandizing to be photographed on the top of the world. Like, that was okay. That's fine. I was like, no problem with that. That worked out okay. But I looked all around. Like, I looked at Lower Manhattan from Brooklyn and from Queens and from the Staten Island Ferry and from Governor's Island. I looked all around at Lower Manhattan, and it just looked like it could be anywhere. It could be Milwaukee, it could be any place. You know, just without the World Trade Towers, there was no really discernible skyline that was identifiable. So I started looking around, and I remember the observation deck at Rockefeller Center is great because you're kind of in it. You're sort of in with the buildings. So one year, we photographed him there, so about a week of scouting. A lot of preparation goes into this, a tremendous amount. But I saw this picture. This is a picture Arnold did of Robert Moses in New York in the 60s, right? And like, I'm sure that picture was lurking in the back of my head for 3 decades, right? And it's just there. Like, I don't think about it, but it's there. This was the cover image that ran. This was shot, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour after the other ones. And this was actually done physically on the roof. He's actually, honest to God, standing on the parapet right there. It's stone, granite, whatever it is, and it's probably about this wide. It's probably about this wide and about this deep. And sorry for those of you in the back. It's about this wide. It's about that wide and that deep. It's like, I don't know, 3 feet deep and 6 feet wide, 5 feet wide, and it's about 4 feet up off the roof, actually. And it's solid. I mean, you know, it's stone. But I got up there, and I didn't like it at all when I was scouting it out. I just didn't like it. First of all, you know, it's only 4 feet to the roof. Behind you, it's only like 2 stories down to a terrace, like a setback. But you can take a pretty good bounce, and then it's like 65 stories down. And it was just weird. It's freaky being up there. You know, I don't like heights. I'll hang out of a helicopter, but I don't like being on the top of the ladder. Really, I think it's really scary. So, you know, I'm 6 feet tall, and on top of a 4-foot thing, my eyeballs are at 10 feet, and they don't like being at 10 feet. They really don't like 10 feet. So I was up there, and I didn't like it, and I thought, well, if I don't like it, he's not going to like it. just as an aside, that's something I do pretty much on every shoot I do, is I almost always put myself where the subject's going to be. I need to see what it's going to be like for them. It's really a big deal. I want to know if it's hot or cold or scary or squinty or funny or uncomfortable, whatever it is. It's a really big deal. So I was worried that he wouldn't do it, really. And I tried to figure out what to do, and I had these guys actually make a platform, like a wooden platform, that was about 12 feet by 12 feet, that sat just out of frame, just under that. I don't know if you can see it. I'm just thinking, look at that, this is pretty cool. That's me. That's a camera. That's a fan to make him look like Batman. We didn't end up using it. That's Rudy Giuliani, those are clouds. There's a light stand. Anyway, this thing down here is the platform that we made. And it's literally like a foot down from where he is. So from where he's standing, just psychologically, it feels better. Right? It's no big deal at all. He's like, oh, it's because you just figure if it feels funny, you just go like that, you're fine. So it's something like that, like in preparation, that just makes a picture even possible, right? So a big thing, I'm just going to go backwards too. Let's see if we can go backwards too. Here's one, and we'll go one more. There it is. Okay. So I was talking about lighting, and I just want to get into this because this is a big thing for me. Lighting, sort of, for me, this is like the nature of photographs. This is the nature of lighting. It'll be my book when I come out. Is lighting sort of falls into two categories. This is lighting that you make, right? There's lighting that you do, frankly, just because it looks groovy and you like it, and who cares? It just looks nice. Floats your boat, whatever. Lighting for an effect. But the bulk of the lighting I do is I do lighting to actually recreate some sort of ambient lighting condition that I've seen before, or that I can kind of picture in my head. That's 90% of the lighting that I do. And I started out wanting to do that just because early on, I'd shoot my little Kodachromes, and I'd get back those yellow boxes and I'd open them up, and the pictures were never what I'd hoped they would be. It was always disappointing. You know what I mean? It never was. So I felt like what I had to do was to learn to be a translator for film. So whatever the picture was in my head, I could make it happen that way after it left the camera. And that had to somehow be an interpreter in that way, an interpreter for film, or nowadays an interpreter for the chip. Either way, right? So in this kind of case, if you're looking at a picture like that, he's standing on top of a 60-story building, right? It's at night, it's at dusk. There are no soft boxes, right? I love soft boxes, I use them, they're out there, they're okay. Fine. But the truth is, if you look out in the world, you almost never, ever see a softbox or umbrella as a light source anywhere else except when a photographer has one. Right? You don't see them in restaurants, you don't see them here, you don't see them in a gas station, you don't see them in school, you don't see them anywhere. They look like windows, you see a lot of windows. But you really don't see those anyplace. And I learned a lot working, I did some stills working on movies many years ago. And it was such a great learning experience because here are people who are they're all about making pictures. And they're not coming at it as photographers, they're coming at it from a totally different vantage point. And these are people, when you're making a movie, there's tremendous resources, right? As photographers, we're like all like little one-man bands. Like we got our lights and our strobe and our this and our cameras and our tripods, and we're trying to make it all happen. And it's a lot to juggle, certainly when you're on your own. Remember the guy who used to be on the Ed Sullivan show on the Tonight Show. He'd keep those plates spinning on the ends of the sticks, and he'd be running back and forth. I feel like that's what I'm doing 90% of the time. You know, you want to make sure everybody's happy, but then you want to make sure the thing's firing, but then you want to make sure your focal length's right, then you want to make sure you got the histogram, then you want to make sure it's like, oh my God, you know, photography's a nightmare. It's like the worst